This child cannot be mine. Take her to a real father. Once upon a time, in a small village, lived a woman named Alima. Alima had built a beautiful life with a loving husband, Ike, and together they dreamed of raising a family. But fate had something different in store for Alima. The arrival of a baby should be the happiest moment of a couple's life, but this wasn't the case for Alima. It all happened one night. Alima was in the labor ward and excited to meet her baby. But when the baby was born, she was shocked at the color of her child. She had delivered a white baby girl. Alima gripped the two sides of the hospital bed in the village and screamed in anger with all her strength. While screaming, the baby started crying as well. But the cry of a newborn baby gave her the strength to calm down. The nurse wrapped her baby in a blanket and brought the baby to Alima. Alima observed the baby's skin color. Confused, she glanced up at the nurse. She asked, "Is this my baby?" "Are you certain?" she asked. The nurse nodded in affirmation and said, "Yes, this is your baby." Alima turned her gaze to the other medical practitioners in the room, noticing their exchange strange looks. They shared the same question as her. The medical staff knew Alima well. It had been in that same hospital that she had given birth to her other 3 children, so they were equally confused. Alima was a black African woman married to a black man, and together they had 3 black children. This baby was their 4th child, and unexpectedly, he had a white complexion. The entire room was perplexed, wondering how this could be. Alima's husband, Ike, entered a few minutes later to see Alima and the newborn baby. When he saw the baby, his jaw dropped. He could not say a word, and he quickly exited the room. Ike tried to check if he had entered the correct room, and to his surprise, he had actually entered the correct room. Upon re-entering the room, he wore a frown face. He couldn't comprehend how Alima could give birth to a whole white baby with straight hair. While standing at a distance, Ike immediately asked Alima, "Why have you given birth to a white baby?" Alima attempted to explain herself. "Annie, I don't know what this means. I don't understand what happened." Ike did not believe a word she said. He looked at her with disgust. He couldn't tolerate what she was saying. He accused her of sleeping with other village men in the village. Alima could not believe that her husband accused her of cheating. She was shocked when he made this accusation. She vigorously shook her head repeatedly, telling him it wasn't true. But Ike did not believe a word she said. Ike ended up leaving her room. Alima had just given birth with postpartum depression, and now she was enduring this kind of mental tortures. She hadn't imagined Ike treating her this way under any circumstance. She finally managed to take a nap, and when she woke up, she saw the baby glancing at her and making baby sounds. The nurse came in the room and told her to feed her baby, but Alima refused. The baby eventually started crying, and she had no other option apart from feeding the baby. The nurse asked her the name of the baby, and she had to decide at a go. Without thinking too much about it, she said her name is Grace. Throughout the remainder of her hospital stay, Halima didn't catch a glimpse of Ike. She hoped he was reflecting on their conversation and considering other possibilities that might explain their baby's different skin tone. Ike was Grace's father. Halima was certain because she hadn't been with any other men besides her husband. Unfortunately, Ike didn't seem to share her conviction. Upon returning home from the hospital, Ike displayed a cold demeanor towards Halima and his baby, Grace. Despite her deep wounds, Halima forced herself to keep a happy front for the benefit of the kids. But a few days later, Ike shocked everyone by packing his bags and announcing that he was leaving her. Halima made an effort to talk sense into his head, begging him not to desert her and their kids. She pleaded with him to take into account everything they had been through over their more than 10 years of marriage, as well as the kids they shared. You are a great shame to the child you are carrying, as well as to yourself. You have the audacity to claim I'm the father of this white child after cheating on me. Show this baby to its biological father. I won't take responsibility for another man's child. What is even the guarantee that the other kids are even mine? Halima begged him to stay, but Ike slammed the door behind him and took his possessions. His mind was set and he never looked back. To avoid potential mockery, Ike chose to leave the village, forsaking his wife and family. Halima felt her entire world collapsing. She hardly anticipated that Ike would be capable of such cruelty. They had known each other ever since childhood, and they went to the same community school in the village. But Halima had to respect Ike's decision. With Ike's departure, Halima found herself grappling with challenges of raising her children alone. They were so young. His first child was just 8 years old. The second was 6, and the third was 4 years. And there was Grace, who was just a newborn. Halima refused to let herself crumble. She drew strength from her love for her children and resolved to give them the best life possible. Despite the overwhelming challenges that lay before her, Halima was determined to go through no matter what she would face. Halima sought any opportunity to make ends meet. She took up multiple jobs, working tirelessly throughout the night and day, from dawn till dusk. Halima moved from one task to another, working at the seamstress during the day and cleaning houses in the evening. Though exhausted, she never let her weariness show. Embracing her responsibilities with unwavering devotion, caring for her children and providing for them became a significant struggle. Former neighbors who had ever envied her family were aware of Ike's departure. Now engaged in whispered conversations, casting judgment and mocking her as an unfaithful wife and hypocrite. The facade of a perfect work-life balancing she once presented in public lay in ruins at such a distressing time. Halima did not have who to talk to. She reached out to friends for help, but they were entangled in their own lives and couldn't provide assistance. Halima found solace in tears burying her face into a pillow. The pain felt like someone was gutting her insides. The strength to persevere became a big challenge. Nothing in her life seems to offer motivation. Instead, her responsibilities left her feeling exhausted. The children depended on her, their lives transformed with their father's absence, and they needed her reassurance. Little Grace was just a helpless, innocent baby who needed its mother to be there all the time. And despite that, Alima had to navigate the demands of her job at work as well as the maid. She found herself easily distracted, unable to perform at her best, and tears would spontaneously stream down her cheeks, making her colleagues uncomfortable at work. One day, she made a serious mistake at work. She forgot she had put food on the stove and it got burnt. There was smoke all over the place. Her boss noticed the smoke coming from the kitchen. She quickly ran there and was shocked with what Alima had done. Her boss was furious and decided to fire her, telling her she was careless. Alima wanted to protest because she needed the money to provide for her children, but she saw the angry face of her boss. There was nothing she could do at that point. She was chased out like a dog. Alima persistently attempted to reach Ike. She sent him letters, yet all her efforts were met with silence. In the midst of the challenges and turmoil she faced, Alima constantly battled fatigue and sadness as she coped with the heartache and the overwhelming situation. And planned naps became a frequent escape, leaving many household chores unattended and barely managing to feed the children. Every day, Alima struggled to navigate the difficult circumstances. Her 8-year-old daughter stepped up despite her young age. She took the initiative to help her mother. She picked up fallen toys, placed them in the toy basket. She collected her and her siblings' dirty clothes, tossed them in the washing basket. She took up the responsibility to make sure the house was clean. When baby Grace cried, Alima engaged her actions. Alima increased her efforts to be present for her children while forcing herself to tackle many chores. Alima forced herself to look for a better job so that her children could eat healthier. Whenever the kids kept asking for their daddy, Alima always dropped tears. The school principal was worried about Alima's children's diminishing academic performance, so he invited her for a conversation. He tried to figure out what was wrong. During their talk, Alima started crying uncontrollably because she couldn't hold back the intense pain in her heart, and she didn't know why she should pretend everything was all right when it obviously wasn't. She was so desperate to let go that she opened up to Mr. Dauda, the principal, about everything, holding nothing back. Mr. Dauda listened and showed real sympathy. He invited them all to go out and have dinner because he was so moved by Alima's situation. Alima and Mr. Dauda carried on their discussion. He talked about his own life, sharing that he had lost his wife as well to problems during childbirth. But thankfully, the child survived. Mr. Dauda revealed that a caring community had been extremely important in helping him raise his daughter. He took Alima to their weekly in-person gathering to accompany him with this community after becoming intrigued. The families that made up the community were committed to helping one another, and after hearing Alima's story, they generously provided their support. Alima progressively rediscovered her drive to start over in life. She was excited to go back to work, and with the community's assistance, she was able to secure a better position as a sales representative. Once she returned to work, Alima did better than her co-workers, which resulted in a double promotion. After a few months of employment, Alima's finances stabilized and she could afford babysitters when needed. Despite this, the community continued to offer her assistance, expressing admiration for Alima's well-managed children and commending her parenting. Alima moved to tears, expressing her gratitude. Alima and Mr. Dauda, the principal, became friends. Gradually, Alima realized she was in constant communication with Mr. Dauda, exchanging texts, letters, and outings with her children. Mr. Dauda's daughter saw Alima as another figure, deeply admiring her despite their classes. The children actively contributed to chores, and together they managed homework, excelling in school and extracurricular activities. Grocery shopping and mutual care became integral during meals. Alima, seeing that her children were happy, her heart was filled with pride, as if they no longer needed Ike. This realization led to another discovery. Ike hadn't been as helpful at home as Alima thought. She hadn't noticed due to her love for Ike. After nearly 3 years of separation, Ike hadn't initiated divorce proceedings. After his departure, Alima hadn't considered a DNA test to prove her innocence. Mr. Dauda advised her to go for a DNA test and seek the truth about her daughter's light complexion. Alima submitted Ike's hair from a comb she found in his belongings he left behind for analysis. The results were astonishing. Ike was indeed Grace's father, and her skin color was hereditary. Alima didn't understand what the doctors meant by hereditary. They explained to her that Ike either had grandparents or great-grandparents who were white. Alima was confused. Neither her nor Ike had any such relatives. Ironically, Ike reached out to Alima unexpectedly. He revealed that his mother had recently unveiled a long-held family secret. According to her, Ike's biological father, who tragically died in an accident, was a white missionary man. After Ike's father died, her mother immediately married another man who was black so that Ike could have a father figure in his life. After this discovery, Ike hurried to Alima's house to ask for forgiveness. "Alima, please, I can't live without you and the kids. I'll be a real father to Grace, I promise." Ike pleaded with desperation. Alima, firm but compassionate, responded, "Ike, you left us for 3 years. I have moved on. Besides, I have filed for a divorce. But I won't shut you out completely. You can have visitation rights to your children." Ike responded, "I messed up and I regret it every day. I want to be part of our family again, to be there for Grace and the other children." Alima shook her head. "It's not that simple, Ike. The children are not as eager to spend time with you. They already have someone else, and they have grown so close to Mr. Dauda." With desperation in his eyes, Ike said, "All right, fine. I will do whatever it takes. I love you and the kids. I want to make this right. It's too late, Ike. Go back to where you came from, Alima said as she stood up and opened the door, asking Ike to leave. I never thought I would lose you like this. I messed up big time, Ike said as he walked out with shame. This is the end of the story. I want you to tell me what lessons you learned from the story. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. See you next time.